Alright, ladies and gentlemen, excuse me, I should have cleared my throat before I started out the video, shouldn't I? That's very rude of me. Now then, Sam Harris, continuing. We are at 7 minutes and 1 second in his video, or in a video titled Sam Harris on the Delusion of Free Will from Zihaldi Alam.
If I had truly been in this person's position, if I had the same genes and the same brain, the same life experience, or the same soul, I would have done exactly as he did, and for the same reasons.
If you were identical to someone, you'd done just what they did.
So the role of luck in our lives appears decisive. The problem...
So the role of luck appears decisive. Decisive. So he does want luck to be a pivotal point. Now, if our lives pivot on luck, then we can't judge people. Right?
Of free will is actually deeper than the problem of cause and effect. Free will doesn't even correspond to a subjective fact about ourselves. Now
if he looks at it, okay, it's not an objective fact. It's not even a subjective fact. He can't find where free will is. It's every single instant that you decide or decide not to focus your mind. It's right in front of you all the time. That's why your philosophy is having such a hard time explaining your way around it. There's so many different angles you're going to have to explain your way out of. No, it's not there. No, it's not there. No, it's not there. And he's saying, I can't find it in an objective sense. I can't find it in a subjective sense. I can't find it in green eggs and ham. I can't find it over there where I am.
People think we have a strong subjective experience of free will. And the problem is just that we can't map it on to physical reality. This, I think, is an illusion. I think we actually do not feel as free as we think we do. This relies on us not paying very close attention to what it's like to be us. The truth is we feel or presume an authorship over our actions, over certain thoughts, over a certain channel of information.
Now, what do we mean by free will? Does it mean free to act in any way we want, or does it mean we have influence over our choices? I mean, would he meet us halfway? I wonder. Or will he not give us an inch? What if we gave him half? What if we said that our choices and our actions and our mind will pretty much operate automatically with the people around us and stuff, and you'll end up in a junky bad situation with a junky bad mind if you do that. Or you can focus and be careful and be rational, and you'll have a better life and a better mind. Would he meet us halfway? Because then he gives us free will. I mean, because I'm not saying that we have free will and we can just freely choose anything. We can't always just freely choose whatever we want. You know, he says sometimes you're not free to choose things that didn't occur to you. You know, you have several cities that pop into your mind. In what sense is this free will? Like, this is determined. Like, you are given these cities by some process we don't understand, namely the causes behind them. You know, and I would say, well, first of all, it's a reflection of how focused your mind has been on that subject in the past. And now maybe it's a bad example to use cities. Why don't we choose a better example? Instead of Sam saying, this is the freest choice you'll ever choose, how about you walk into a bookstore? Here, MrCropper walks into a bookstore, and he's got to choose a book. And he's got to use his free will. Now, this is much better than Sam's example of the cities, which we haven't done in this video. In fact, we didn't do in the last video. But it was earlier on in this video. In Sam's example of the cities, he lets you choose any city, and then he gets to pick on you because your subconscious didn't throw up Cairo as one of the cities. And he picks on you and says, now see, you knew Cairo was a city. Why weren't you free to choose Cairo if it's free will? So MrCropper goes into a bookstore, and he's free to choose any book there, isn't he? So Which books does he choose? Now, Mr. Cropper has to make lots of decisions and weigh his things, and then he will find a book, and he'll like it. He'll really like it. And he might even put it in his arms and carry it around and say, ha ha, my new book, love it. Gonna look around a bit. Then he'll find 3 other books, and he'll start looking, okay, do I want all 3 of those or this one? 'Cause same price for this one or all 3 of those. And this book, which I thought was my book now, I had decided it was mine. I hadn't paid the money, but it's now mine. I go and I put it back longingly. Now, is there no free will anywhere? I had to make a choice between this book and those 3 books. Also, did I choose new books, old books, a nice copy of a book I already have, a book I don't have, a book I don't have that I'm going to read and make marks in, or a book I don't have that I'm not going to read, but I just need to have it. I want to have it in case I want to read some chapter in it. Which book? Or am I going to buy 5 or 10 or 50? Am I going to go over budget? Am I going to spend too much? Or am I going to blow the rent, spend so much? Or am I going to just, or am I going to yawn and get bored and say, oh, and walk out without spending anything? Now that's not likely. We're talking about MrCropper, but free will is just like glaring. It's a glaring opportunity that's just booming all the time in Sam's face. And he has to come up with bizarre things. He has to say, murderer who was beaten in his childhood, blah, 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 has no free will. You know, I would say that person has not taken care of their consciousness and is not focused. And we're going to hold everybody responsible for their actions. And that's why you should focus. If you think that you can just go through life without focus, let me remind you, we have police, courts, and military. So focus, all right? This is important. There are people around you who don't want to be affected by your irresponsibility. Take care of your life. Do whatever you want. It's a free country. Just don't hurt other people because you will get in serious trouble. Focus. Now, if you don't focus and you decide to do things that hurt other people, you just get drunk one night and break into a window and try to steal a cash register. You just don't care. I'm going to put you in jail. I don't care whether you're focused or not. I don't care. So, Sam, I'll say that these people don't act like they have free will. They do act like they are at the mercy of their emotions. But that shouldn't confuse philosophers. Okay?
In our conscious minds, that is illusory. The endurance of free will as a philosophical problem in need of a solution is born...
I think we're seeing that it's not. Okay? There is no problem of free will. You can choose to babble on about it.
The fact that most of us feel that we freely author our thoughts and intentions and actions, therefore.
That's just a feeling or a delusion. Now, I've mentioned this in another video, that's a really complicated delusion, and it's a really extremely bizarre hypothesis to try to make and to try to uphold. That free will and consciousness is just a delusion, you know? It's like that's one more fact of free will. You have to explain MrCropper in the bookstore not choosing to pay rent or whatever and spending too much, or choosing to only get the books he can afford, and you've got to explain that, and then later on you've got to explain the dentist, and then after that you've got, and you keep on having to explain free will everywhere you turn, and you're still not done even here.
Need of a solution is born of the fact that most of us feel that we freely author our thoughts and intentions. And
you're still not done misproving free will or disproving free will when you say that we all feel like we have it. That's not helping your case. That is just like, now what are you going to do? He's saying we all feel like we have free will, but we don't. I mean, this is just more evidence that he's running into it everywhere he goes. Now, it's not like we're all walking around feeling like we are the victims of our past and we have no choice. No, we don't feel like that. Once in a while we hear some criminal say that. And statistics from some leftist nonsense people will say that. But we don't walk around in our lives acting that way. Now, isn't that strange, Sam? And he says we all have this feeling that we have free will. It all seems to us that we have free will. Isn't that strange, Sam? Isn't that weird?
Therefore, however difficult it may be to make sense of this in logical or scientific terms, there is...
Not really, though, I think we're seeing. Right? Now, what's his ultimate motive? I don't know. Is it just basically confusion? Is it responsibility? Is it... What is it? I don't know. We would have to psychoanalyze maybe to get to the bottom of it. But whatever it is, it's really, really not very impressive.
Actually no evidence of free will in our experience. And if you...
There's no evidence of free will in our experience, right? Just after he said we all feel like we have free will all the time. So we feel like it, right? Now, what's your hypothesis to explain your way around that? That's an enormous feeling, thing, a phenomenon. That's a huge phenomenon that we all partake of daily. And you've got to come up with a hypothesis to explain that. And then your hypothesis, you're going to have to investigate it and turn it into a full-blown theory. This is going to be a lot of work. You're going to have to focus really hard and try really hard to make this theory work out. And your theory is going to be that, what?
Pay close attention to your experience. You can see this. If you pay attention, you can see that you no more author the next thing you think.
His theory that he was getting at was going to be that he doesn't choose the things that he says. You no more author the next thing.
You can see that you no more author the next thing you think than the next thing I say.
Now, objectivists simply take exception to that. We simply do. We don't say that we author absolutely every instance, right? That's our subconscious. And we actually have terms, objectivists have terms, we talk about this. They say, well, my subconscious wasn't pointed or wasn't focused, I hadn't set my subconscious to work on it. My subconscious had been working on it. My subconscious is still working on it. We say these things. And then we say, I didn't realize my subconscious was working on it. They say, we actually say these things because you'll think things, you'll put them in the back of your head, and you'll sort of say to yourself, yep, that has a certain implication. And then you won't worry too much about it. But you did put the thought in there. Now, how much you focus and how much you look at that depends on how your thoughts develop. Now, Sam just can't, all this is just wrecked for him. He can't, he could never, he can't conceive of this stuff. And yet, interestingly, he sits around at a computer or with a pencil or whatever, typing or writing these amazing things to fool people that free will doesn't exist. Even going so far as to say in one speech, we all feel like we have experienced free will. We all feel like it all the time. And then saying in another speech, there's absolutely no evidence in our daily experience for free will. So coming out of the same mouth and the same man, and supposedly in support of the same theory, it's a bit of a mishmash. Of course we have no evidence for free will. What evidence do you need? It's self-evident. We have no evidence that we exist. We have no evidence that we have five senses. We have no evidence that our five senses give us any evidence from reality. We have no evidence for free will. These are all equivalent statements. We have so much evidence for free will that you have to find very highly educated people and contrive extremely bizarre arguments and get them to accept bald assertions in order to question free will. That's where you're at, Sam. You're at the end of that road. And the people that are buying this stuff are accepting bald assertions, and they have to be pretty educated in order to go down this path you're taking them down.
Thoughts simply appear in consciousness.
Objectivists definitely don't believe that. thoughts simply appear in any given instant based on what you've done before. Thoughts don't simply appear in consciousness. Thoughts occur in a context. Thoughts occur in a context. In the context of your past decisions or lack of decisions. Now, because some people don't focus and don't make decisions, doesn't mean we can base our entire theory of will on those people. They're a bad example of humans anyway, which is why they end up committing murder, and then Sam is confounded by them.
Now, what are you going to think next? What am I going to say next?
I'm going to think next that you're an idiot and that you're probably going to say something that's going to make you look like a fool. Now, am I going to continue to think that he's an idiot, and is he going to say something that makes him look like a fool? Let's see if I was right. Because then if I was right, does that mean that the universe just predicted itself? That would be amazing, wouldn't it? In fact, is that what Newton did when Newton worked out stuff and was determined to work it out? He just predicted it was just the universe working itself out? That's an amazing thing. You see, when you do away with free will, then you have to have theories about how theories are just the universe talking about itself. Free will is a much, much shorter route to this, Sam. And you don't have to spend all your time disproving free will before you can get on to doing other stuff. And just accept that it exists already. Alright, let's see if I'm right. And if I'm right, then that proves that I have the ability of free will to focus so much on Sam's thoughts that I realize that he's an idiot, and the next thing he says is also going to be stupid. By the way, I like his atheism.
Let's start talking about why we don't eat owls.
Why don't we eat owls? All right. Both a good example and a bad example, right? Because the next thing he said was stupid. I think a little bit less of him being an idiot, because that's such a good example of something that you would... Why, if you're going to come up with something random, that's a great example. Okay, Sam, you got me. Good job. Why don't we eat owls? You know, because they're so wise or something? The Greeks thought they were wise. We should farm owls, shouldn't we? Farm them?
Why don't we eat owls? They seem perfectly good. Okay, now, where did that come from? Okay, it came out of nowhere as far as you're concerned. But this...
Yeah, but it took you a lot of effort to come up with it. And you rejected several things. You thought, this, no, this, no. You had to put your subconscious to work on it. And you had to focus on finding a particular example that met a particular criteria for you. Your criteria was something out of the blue, to prove that our mind isn't always focused on everything. It's only focused on a few things here and there sometimes. So we have a finite consciousness. Yeah. So we have a finite consciousness, and we have free will. Your head should not be so blown. You should not blow your mind to get your head around this stuff. And if you could get your head around this stuff, you could then move forward and do something more productive than this sort of nonsense. And that's a pretty good example of a random thought that we're not discussing, and maybe we ought to have a discussion of. That's a pretty good example. So I don't know what you could be doing that you should be doing, but this is not something that you should be doing. This is nonsense.
Thing is happening in your own mind at this moment. I mean, you've all made an effort to be here tonight, presumably because you wanted to hear what I had to say about free will, and now you're trying.
We made an effort to be here. Does that include free will? No. Presumably because we wanted to hear what he had to say. Does that include free will? No. Not even desires include free will. See, his language is full of free will. Every sentence he utters is full of free will. He's got to come up with a hypothesis and a theory for every single one of these words that he's using and the way that it's used. How is it that we can have no free will and yet have a desire? right? We wanted to hear him speak. What does it mean? What does desire mean? How do we fulfill a desire? What's your theory behind this, Sam? Because we can fulfill a desire in many ways. A desire to hear Sam speak, or a desire to hear him speak in person. Why didn't we just go watch a YouTube video? Why did these people go to his dinner? What does desire mean, Sam, in a context where there's no free will? And what does it mean to pursue your desire in a context where you have no choice? You know, he's going to have to come up with redefinitions or just dismiss whole fields of words. You know, I mean, this is a massive, massive philosophical undertaking, which is ridiculous on its face and has to be undertaken by choice.
To listen to me, but you also have a voice in your head that says things. Haven't you noticed?
That voice in my head, I converse with it, you know, and I tell it, well, you keep saying that, but I'm done with you saying that because blah, 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 you know, or, you know, you keep saying that, and we need to talk about that more because that's important, and I don't think we're talking about that enough, you know. So there is a voice. Socrates called it the denouement, or what? No, daemon, denouement, the end of a story, the daemon, and it's your inner voice. The Muslims say that there's an angel sitting on each shoulder. We call it your conscience, right? That's the English word for it. Your person, your inner you. Now, if we have an inner you and Sam can hear it, that's just us discussing our things with ourselves, like what we want to do, what we think we should do, what we think about things, how we think about the world, our interactions to the world, our evaluations of the world. He's now got to explain that away too, right? Because it's part of free will. It's part of our discussion. That is like where free will happens, is when we say, should we do this city? No, bored with that city, sick of it. Choose another city. You know, or when MrCropper goes and his subconscious self says, you haven't even put away the books that you bought last week. And I said, shut up. Right? You do have an inner voice that talks to you, and sometimes you're like, quiet, quiet, quiet. You know, it says, your hands are sore, you carried home too many boxes of books yesterday, you don't need to take more. I said, shut up, hands are fine. Fine. So you do have an inner voice. Sometimes you're at war with it, right? Sometimes you're in a conversation with it. You're saying, you know, you're right about my hands. Maybe I should go down to the liquor store over there and get another bottle of wine instead. So that actually never happened. What I would do is I would get the wine, then the books, and then go to the cafe. Boy, those were good afternoons. Now then, those were carefully chosen afternoons, and Sam is in a quandary here, isn't he? Trying to find his way around people choosing things, and he's got to come up with a lot of big theories to do it, doesn't he?
And it says things. It says things that are completely unconstrained at times by the thing you're trying to focus on.
Now, does our mind say things, according to Sam, our mind sometimes randomly says stuff. In the middle of a geometry test, you have thoughts, right? And Benjamin Franklin says after the mid-30s or so, you're able to focus more on what matters and less on young ladies. So we do have things that interrupt our thoughts, and our thoughts are... But like I said earlier, I'll give him some if I can have some, right? If I can have the fact that I get to focus my thoughts and choose them, and I can focus on more and more and more, you know, there's some limit. Of course, I have to sleep sometimes, and you can't think and focus all the time. Sometimes you're just automatic. Driving down the freeway, you really go into automatic if you've done the route before too many times. So we do just go into automatic mode, but the more we focus and the more time we spend focused, the more effort we put on the focus, the more purposeful of a person we will be. And there's just no room for that thought at all in his ideas. There's no room for that idea at all, which is very strange. He's got to come up with whole theories to get around this fact.
I mean, I'm standing up here trying to reason with you, and you will think he does look a little like Ben Stiller.
Now that might have happened to some people. He's using the worst people in the audience as an example, for one thing, just to begin with. But also, if that did occur to me while I'm listening to his speech, I look at him and I think, Ben Stiller. Okay, focus, Cropper, focus, So that does happen to us. We do have side thoughts that pop over. Now that just means that we've got an active conscience that's doing things and it's busy making connections, and it sees a connection over there, and so it does a connection, and when it lights up, our brain takes cognizance of that light up and says, those two ideas are connected? Huh, alright. And sometimes it'll make a connection and we'll go, ooh, didn't like that connection. Why are you making that connection? Right? Let's see, what would it be? Oh, your car makes a bad noise, and you go, gotta pay rent soon, don't want to have a bad noise from the car. Oh, why would I have that feeling? Oh, because I know it's going to be expensive because of that one thing. In the back of my mind, I know about that one thing on the car that's very expensive that's going to break soon, and now I'm hearing this noise as I drive right now in this instant, and my subconscious is telling me, remember that very expensive thing? And I can't call it to conscious mind at first. In fact, maybe it takes 20 or 30 minutes or it's the next day before I call to conscious mind, oh yeah, that noise is a bad noise, isn't it? I remember thinking before about the fact that that's going to be expensive, and then yesterday I heard that and my stomach sank and I didn't really think about it, but now I remember why. See? Objectivists have whole ways of looking at this. It's so clear to us because we can introspect our our volition, our free will. We can introspect our ability to control our own thoughts and decide what we're going to think and how to evaluate it. Now, no, we don't decide every single second what to think, right? That's how the mind works, right? It's within the context of the human brain. I'll give Sam some if he'll give me some, and that's all I want from him. I don't want infinite free will. I don't want the ability for my mind to freely choose any city. It's not going to freely choose any city. It's going to choose the cities that occur to it for whatever reason are relevant within my context and my brain and my thoughts and my life. Alright, so we're getting along on this video. And I'm getting unfocused. Let's call it quits on that. And if we need to go, I'm going to continue listening from here. I think there's more I need to do on this. Sam, you're a very, very naughty boy. Can you answer any of this? No, there's no free will.